Hey guys, this is Tona, and today we are going to be doing my deck, or I'm going to be talking about my deck for Xolatoyac. Apparently that's pronunciation. Wow, I can't even pronounce that word. So I wanted to kind of talk about this deck that I've kind of been brewing up. It's mostly around Xolatoyac, chucking out these flood tokens, creating heaps of lands that we can then utilize for island walking. So that way we can just completely kind of bypass any enemy defenders or anything. There's a few different things that I've kind of put in here to kind of make use of the fact that the enemy team, like the enemy, are just going to all have, hopefully, islands. Just islands everywhere. So let's go through that. So if you don't know, Xolatoyac's ability is basically whenever he enters the battlefield or he attacks, put a flood counter on a target land. That land is thus going to be an island in addition to any other types for as long as it has that flood counter on it. At the end of at the beginning of your end step, you can then untap each permanent you control with a counter on it. So the whole point of this is to chuck a whole bunch of counters out and then be able to kind of turn our stuff all into islands, but mostly to turn all the enemy stuff into islands, because the point of putting the islands on us is so that way we're able to untap it, but the point of putting it onto any of our enemies is to make sure that they've got islands, so that way we can kind of bypass their defenses. Hopefully, we mostly just want to put, one on each to make sure each of them has an island, so we'll get through that. So, Xolatoyac, ensuring that we've got those islands out there. So I'm going to go through each of these cards to why I chose them and everything. I've got a few kind of Murlocs. Well, I say Murlocs as well. Merfolks. I've got a lot of Merfolks in here because I wanted to kind of make this one kind of built off of the Explorers of the Deep, so we can kind of expand from that, as well as making it so that, they've got a lot of synergy together. There's a few Merfolk that kind of make it so that the other ones have Island Walk and everything. So we kind of wanted to go through that. So I've got Benthic here. Benthic is going to make it so that you've got the adapt there. So he's going to be able to untap thanks to Xolatoyac's ability. Charix, the Raging Island. This one here I really, really like. It spells your opponent cast that are going to target him have 2 more. So he's got Ward 2. And you pay 3. And he's going to gain... he's going to gain plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands that you control. So we can turn all of our stuff into islands and then switch it so that he's going from like defense mode into attacking. So he's a 0-17, but if we flip it, then he could, become like a 12-5 or something. And then from there, hopefully we've got island walking that we were able to give to him. We've got the Cold-Eyed Selkie here, who is one of our base characters that has Island Walk. And whenever she deals damage, then we're going to be able to draw cards. I've got a lot of kind of card draw in here as well. So that way we can kind of, keep drawing out islands that we can then chuck out. We've got the Colossal Whale here, who is going to have Island Walk. And then also whenever a Colossal Whale attacks, we're going to exile a target creature that the defending player controls until it ends. So we can hopefully, just kind of use him later on to Island Walk past the enemies, as well as then be able to eat up all these things. We've got the Deep Fathom Echo here, whose card is not loading for some reason here. It's going to explore, so it's going to get potentially a +1/+1, and then we're going to be able to turn it into something else, become a copy of any other creature that we control. So, we can make it into a character with Island Walk. We could make it into some of our stronger ones later on, or one of these ones that gives, +1/+1s or something to our Merfolk, or, there's lots of different things we can kind of use here with this to make it a stronger character. We've got the Deep Root Elite here. Whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield, you're going to put +1/+1 on any Merfolk that you control. So that's a good way for us to buff up our Cold-Eyed Selkie here to make it so that we're drawing a whole bunch of cards. We've got the Deep Tread Muro. It's only going to cost us 1 blue, and we're going to give him Island Walking to be able to bypass any kind of defenses there, to kind of do some chip damage. Emperor Mihail, we can play Merfolk off the top of our library, and then whenever we cast a Merfolk, we're able to pay 1 and create additional Merfolk tokens, which then, we're able to kind of use to play this to be able to kind of buff up more things. I've kept Huckball in here just purely because of each merfolk is going to be able to explore, so we can get a bunch of +1/+1s out there, as well as put lands out. And then whenever Huckball attacks, we're going to be able to make it so that we're putting an additional land out, if not additional card draw there. Herald of the Secret Streams gives us +1/+1s aren't going to be able to be blocked, so you know, if we happen to have stuff that's not going to have island walking or something like that, then Herald of the Secret Streams is still going to make it so that we're able to bypass and be able to get through the blocker there. We've got Kapala, who's going to give all of our merfolk 2 ward, essentially. Abilities that target them cost 2 more to cast. It's essentially the old wording of ward. We've got Kumena's Speaker. Makes it so that he gets a +1/+1 as long as we've got a merfolk or an island. So I've kept him in there. He's going to be a simple drop that we can put out early on, as well as, you know, we've got a lot of islands in here. We've got, like, you know, things being turned into islands. So he's going to have that +1/+1 most of the time. Lord of Atlantis. This is one of our 2 cards that is incredibly important, coming back as one of the special guests in the upcoming set. Lord of Atlantis gives all our other merfolk +1/+1 and Island Walk. Now, keep in mind that we can also, you know, switch it when, you know, we've got some of the big stuff there to make it so that, you know, the Deep Fathom Echo is giving that +1/+1 in addition as well. There's lots of cool stuff they can do there. Master of the Pearl Trident. So these 2 essentially have the addition, both the exact same ability, exact same cost and everything. However, they've got different names there so that we were able to have both of them in the deck. And it's going to give another +1/+1 and that Island Walk there. We've got Meandering Tower Shell. So whenever he attacks, he's going to get exiled and then come back in the next... come back and attacking at the next declare attacker step on our next turn. So he's just going to essentially exile himself and come back each time, which is interesting. And that means, you know, being able to be clear of any kind of any removal or anything like that the enemy might have out, as well as we've got that island walking there. The Merfolk Cave Diver is going to get +1/+0 each time we explore. We've got a few different explore things in here. Not hugely great, but still is another Merfolk that we can have in there that's potentially going to be pretty decent. The Merfolk Mistbinder, chucking out +1/+1 for very cheap. Merfolk Sovereign, another +1/+1. There's a lot of +1/+1s for the Merfolks. I'm actually surprised at how many things they buff up each other, which is really nice. But also makes it so that target Merfolk can't be blocked this turn, in case, you know, we don't have any of our island walking stuff out. We've got that option. Merfolk Spy has the island walking, and then whenever it deals damage, you're going to be able to reveal a card at random from someone's hand. So we can get some kind of early card advantage, like being able to see what someone has. Like so we know if they've got like a board wipe or something, just randomly. It's just a simple kind of 1-cost merfolk that I thought would be really nice in here. We've got the Muro Harbinger. Whenever he comes into play, you're going to be able to search for a merfolk, reveal it, and then put it into the thing. This is really important, so that way, worst case scenario, we haven't got our Lord of Atlantis or our Master of the Pearl Trident. We're able to get it back with this. We've got the Muro Regery, again giving +1/+1s, but also making it so that whenever you cast a merfolk spell, you can untap or tap a target permanent. So we could tap our enemies out. We could, you know, untap our team. Who knows? There's lots of cool things we could do there. The Metallic Mimic, again, making it so that, you know, it can become a merfolk, and then whenever a creature of the merfolk enters, then he can put a +1/+1 onto it. The Mist Dancer here giving all our merfolk flying. Not, unfortunately, going to be island walking, which would be nice, but it is going to give them flying, which is very similar, except for the fact that more things are going to be able to block it. We've got the Scourge of the Fleets here. This is a really nice one. When it enters the battlefield, return each creature your opponent controls with toughness X or less to the owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. So because of the fact we can turn a lot of our, like, you know, dual lands, our other lands into islands, we can then potentially use it as a board wipe. We've got the Fleet Seafloor Oracle here. Whenever a merfolk deals damage, we're going to get that draw a card. We've got the Sea Folk Monster, which is really nice. It can't attack unless your defending opponent controls an island, which they're going to. However, it's also going to then be able to turn something into an island with the CFO, with its ability, as well as got that Monstrosity 3. Selkie Hedge Mage, making it so that we're able to return a tapped creature to the enemy, because it will likely have 2 or more islands there. The Serpent of the Endless Sea here, making it so that its toughness and power are equal to the number of islands we control. Again, we're going to have heaps of islands out here, so we can be able to kind of use its ability. Stony Brook Banneret, making it so that we got our merfolk out cheaper, our wizards out cheaper, as well as having Island Walk, which is nice. This one is another one that's just really, really nice. Stormtide Leviathan. So, all lands are islands in addition to their other types. However, creatures without flying or island walk can't attack. So we're going to be able to lock out our enemies from being able to attack, which is really, really nice. Which is really, really nice. We've got the Surge Spanner here, making it so that when it enters, when it becomes tapped, we can return a target permanent to its owner's hand. We've got Svin, has indestructible as long as we've got 2 or more merfolk, which we should have. Whenever it attacks, draw a card, and then also giving our other merfolk ward 1. Thada Adel, making it so that, well, 1 island walk, and then whenever it deals damage, we're going to be able to exile. We're going to be able to search an opponent's library for an artifact card and then exile it. Then that player is going to shuffle it, and then until the end of turn, you can play that card. So we can, our friend over here hasn't got their Soul Ring out. We can go steal their Soul Ring. That's crazy. We've got Thassa, God of the Sea. It's going to be able to give us a Scry 1 at the start, as well as making it so that target creatures can't be blocked as long as we pay that 1 and the blue. We've got the Flood of Mars. So this is another one of our island walking ones. It's going to be able to turn any, like, say we've got a whole bunch of weak things out or something, or, the enemy have some really strong things out. We're going to be able to turn. So whenever it attacks, put a flood counter on a target creature or land. If it's a creature, it becomes Flood of Mars. So we can just turn our enemies stuff that's really good. We're going to turn it into Flood of Mars. They've got their commander out there. We're going to turn it into the Flood of Mars. It's just going to become a 3/3 with Island Walk. Unfortunately with that Island Walk, but we're able to block it because, we've got... sorry, wait. Oh, no, wait. We can't block things with Island Walk with things with Island Walk. So yeah, they're going to be able to hit us, but that's fine. The commander's now, the Flood of Mars instead. If it's a land, it becomes an island, so we can turn, again, our stuff, their stuff, into islands. We've got the Tide Shaper here. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if it's kicked, the target land becomes an island for as long as it's in the battlefield, and it gets +1/+1 as long as an opponent controls an island. We've got Theana. This is the one that's going to be really nice with all of those cards that we're drawing, because she is going to gain +1. She's going to gain power and toughness equal to the number of cards in her hand. We have no maximum hand size. And then whenever it enters the battlefield, we're going to draw a card for each creature we control. And then finally, Zagana. Whenever she enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1, we're going to be able to draw a card. And then we've got the Adapt here, being able to get the +1/+1s, as well as give each creature you control +1/+1 counter on it. Each creature that we control that has a +1/+1 has Trample. Unfortunately, we're hoping that we have Island Walk, so we don't need to worry about that. But worst case scenario, we don't. We've got the big Trample then. So, as for sorceries, we've got like Architects chucking out more flood tokens, Farseek to get us some more mana. We're going to be able to draw cards equal to the amount of lands we control. Amount of islands that we control. Then we've got Kadamas and Nature's Law. We've got Part Water, which is going to give our target creatures Island Walk until end of turn. That's an older card, but it's going to be really nice in here. We've got Tsunami. This is what I really love. So Tsunami, destroy all islands. So if we've gone with Xolatoyac, we've made all of our enemy stuff into islands. We can use Tsunami, destroy all their stuff. Instead of destroying our islands, just destroy all their stuff. Now we've got Typhoon here. It's going to deal 1 damage to each opponent for each island that they control. Another really nice card if we've managed to put in a whole bunch of islands into our enemy. So we've got also Wave Goodbye. So it's going to return each creature without a +1/+1 on it to our owner's to its owner's hand. We're hoping to have our +1/+1s out on most of our creatures, and if not, you know, don't use it. It's going to be a nice board wipe, I think. You know, there's some other options in here that we could use instead of it, but I like the idea of this one. We've got Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. We're getting attacked, chuck them back into their owner's hand. We've got the Beast Within, Counterspell, Flow of Knowledge to draw a card for each island that we control and then discard 2 cards. Growth Spiral, making it so that we can put additional lands out there. Piracy Charm. So this is a cool one because it's going to give our target creature Island Walk until end of turn. Or, you know, we can make someone discard a card or, you know, potentially kill a weak thing off. Quadrix Command, Quandrix Command, putting +1/+1s out or returning target creatures to hands. We've got Rippers of Potential to proliferate. Then we're going to be able to choose any number of targets that we control and then phase them out, which is going to be nice to be able to save us from a board wipe there. And then finally, I think, you know, I'm going to go through this one and then the enchantments. This one here, Quicksilver Fountain. So this is really interesting. It's going to make it so that we can put flood counters on target. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player is going to put a flood counter out onto one of their lands. That land is now an island for as long as the flood counter is on it. So it's just going to be able to, you know, and it's going to be on each enemy's turn. They're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it as well, but that's fine. But it's going to be on each enemy's turn. And then they're going to have to put it onto it and just turn it into an island. Just an island, not, you know, an island in addition to its other stuff. It's just islands. And then, now it does mean that, you know, if everything at the end of a turn is going to be an island, then we're going to have to remove all those flood counters. And then they all turn back to, you know, normal. However, you know, it's going to completely screw someone over, especially once we get to one of these enchantments down here. We've got Simic Signet. It's going to give us a whole bunch of, you know, mana there, and then Soul Ring, Branching Evolution, making it so we get additional +1/+1s. Carpet of Flowers. So this is another really, really nice one here. At the beginning of each of your main phases, if you haven't added mana with this ability this turn, you may add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. So much mana out. Because when we combine it with this one, Choke, islands don't untap during their controller's untap steps. We can just completely mana drain everyone else and get mana for ourselves. We've got Deeproot Pilgrimage here, making it so that whenever one of our merfolk get tapped, they're going to create another merfolk with hexproof the 1/1 blue merfolks with hexproof. And we've got a lot of merfolk in here that we're going to tap. We've got Roots of Life. So this is really nice too. It's going to make it that whenever a swamp or island, obviously we want to choose islands, becomes tapped for mana, we're going to be able to gain +1 life. Unfortunately, you know, it's only going to target one of our enemies. So it's whenever a land of the chosen type that target opponent controls becomes tapped, we're going to gain +1 life. But just target someone who has a lot of lands out there that you've managed to turn all of them into islands, which is going to be freaking hilarious. And then finally, the Sea Devils here, going to give us some more island walking. The 2/2 green alien salamanders with island walking. But then it's also going to make it so that whenever a salamander deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to a target creature that player controls. You know what? We just happen to have another salamander in here too, which is really nice. But that's it for today, guys. This is my Xolatoyac deck for island walking, upgraded from the Explorers of the Deep. It's a heavy upgrade here. It's mostly, you know, to just kind of build a new deck, but kind of built off of the remnants of the Explorers of the Deep. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Have a great day and goodbye.